Welcome back. It's been a while since I've done a video, and I figured I would start off with a new type of series where we go through some challenges and you can listen to me basically get angry and swear at them a lot because, it's fun. So what I'm going to do is go through them and figure out the learning objectives and talk to you about them and figure out what exactly it is they're trying to teach and then go from there. Now for this one, we're going to need the glass. So we're going to start off with the Sherlocks because these are allegedly forensics based. So I work in forensic. Let's go do this. Since this is the first video, we're going to go through a few of the very easy ones and just try and get a baseline for what these are like and what it is they're asking for you. And these may be the first ones you guys go through. I'm not going to give you the answers and the flags if I can help it. If they do come up on screen, I apologize. But this isn't supposed to be just get the flags from me and submit them. This is supposed to be learn how to do the actual challenge themselves and watch where I struggle as well, because none of us are perfect and imposter syndrome's a real thing. So watch somebody who spent many years doing forensic struggle with a CTF. So I moved over to the Windows system because frankly, Windows has better tools for analyzing a lot of these forensic artifacts. You'll get told that you need to learn Linux, and Linux is the thing that all cybersecurity people go to. That's bollock. Just use whichever one makes the most sense. In this case, we're going to use Windows. All right, so I've fired up an administrative PowerShell. We're running the MFT command to see what flags we need. So as we run this initially, you can see the examples up here. You've got the command-F following the MFT, and then you need to give an output file. So we're going to give it a CSV output file. We'll put that in the same folder, which is not always the best way of doing things, but CTF, who cares? We can cut some corners. Do a CSV output, and then we'll put output MFT. Let's see if that works. So now it's flexing that it did that in 4.5 seconds when the GUI version took 10 minutes and didn't load. Right, so I went and downloaded a CSV viewer because I cannot be bothered to install Excel, and I'm not signed into my own personal Google on a video on YouTube. So screw you guys, we're using this free one. Now let's have a look back at these questions. So on February 13th, we've got a zip file downloaded. So let's start adding some filters. Now I've never used this tool before, so it can't be that hard. So now I have the 13th. Now we need to know a zip file. That gives us 3 files. We apply that, and we've now narrowed our search down to 3 different things. Now I know that CAPE is forensic software, so I'm going to automatically exclude that one. So we're looking at invoices.zip and stage yada yada yada. So it's going to be one of those 2. One is directly into download. Right, so this is confirming what we already thought. At 16:34 we have the first file, which is called stage, downloaded, and then at 17:25 on the same day we have invoices.zip created. So it looks like that was unzipped from the folder which we're looking at here called stage. Again, I'm ignoring CAPE just because I know that is forensic software. It's weird that it's been downloaded in between, but we'll ignore that. It's the suspension of disbelief, just because this is a CTF. If this was in a real scenario and somebody downloaded CAPE in between both of those, I'd be very concerned and speaking to the customer to find out what the hell was going on. Let's copy this and let's see if this just flat out is straight away the answer. I know I said I wouldn't give you the answers, turns out I am. And there we go. So that's our first zip file that was downloaded from the ebook. Examine the zone identifier contents for the initial downloaded zip file. This reveals a host URL from where the file was downloaded. Okay, so the second question is asking us to look at the zone identifier. Now this in the MFT is classed as a completely separate file just because of the way that these things work. So we've got the .identifier file here. As you can see, all I've done is pasted the name back in, selected both of these from the filter, and that has given us 2. And the second one has data in the zone identifier field. So we could see a URL in here. So if we copy this entire field, fix this one and paste it back in here, take out that first bit, back to the URL. Now, whether or not it wants the query information or not, I don't know. We're going to submit it once with the query, which is after the question mark at the end, and see if that works. And it did. Perfect. What is a full path and name of the malicious file that executed malicious code and connected to a C2 server? So I just uses me malicious and malicious. A malicious file and malicious code. All right, what I've done is I've rearranged our filters a little bit. I've gone for February the 13th and also anything starting with a 1, to be honest, because I wanted to expand it out just in case it was done the next day. I've also put a parent path of downloads. Now this doesn't let me put in multiple filters because I would like to also exclude CAPE from here because unfortunately the person who created this used the downloads folder to install CAPE and run CAPE. Please don't do that. Use a different folder. Scrolling down to the bottom, we can see down here we've got an invoice.bat, which is around the time the invoices.zip was running. Looking for other things in here. There's not much, I'm going to be honest. It could be this invoice.bat. Then when I add a filter of is a directory equals false, we can see we have this bat file. So I'm going to put this in now. With this being a CTF, it's a little bit false in the sense of how you can do it, because I can say, oh, maybe it's this. Let me go submit it and get a confirmation back. When you're doing actual forensics, you don't have that luxury. So you have to be able to go and investigate. I can't prove it from here. So because this is a CTF, what I'm going to do is put it into the answer box and see if it's correct. I want the whole bloody path. Okay, invoice.bat. And we got it right, not because we could prove that we were right, but because we took a guess and went, yeah, it's a CTF, fuck it. Let's just see if it's right. Analyze a C30 timestamp for the previously identified file. When was it created? So while I've been doing this, I've also taken the liberty of opening Timeline Explorer. This is a little bit easier to read for what we're doing. I've already done a filter for invoice.bat. So we can look in here, scroll across to the C30, and we can see right here our information. That should be good. And there we go. We've done the next one. Question 3, the invoice.bat, and we need to find the hex offset. Okay, that took a little bit longer than expected. Turns out I was being an idiot, and this is going to be a pretty regular theme to all of this. So what I did was I opened up the hex editor and I did a search for the word invoice, which found invoice.bat. And I thought, yeah, I'm onto it here. This is great. I've got the right answer and everything's fine. No, I didn't take into account this is UTF-16 instead of UTF-8, which basically means what I was looking for was I.N.N, etc. So dots in between, but then also the not dots, they are null bytes. So if you do a set for this string, which you can see here with the dots in between, you won't find it. So what I did instead was I set for the hex value for this, which then brought me down to the correct invoice.bat. Now with an MFT, when you're looking for file offset, you don't start with a file name. That's not where it starts. It starts up here with the word file. So where you can see file 0, which means 46 here is the correct first offset. So what I simply did, right click, copied the offset, pasted that into here, and that gave me the correct answer. And now that I've actually stopped being an idiot and found the right one, I'm going to be able to answer this second question very easily. And it also goes back to what I was saying before, where I needed the forensic evidence to confirm that this invoice.bat was the correct one. If I had my head screwed on properly and I was thinking correctly, I could have simply done this where I opened up in the hex editor, I went down and I said, right, what does this invoice.bat actually store? And we can see here the script of exactly what it stores. So we've got calling PowerShell is bypassing checks on PowerShell. It's doing basically downloading a file, and we have an IP address on port 6666, download PowerShell, and then followed by some base 64 at the end of there. We've got an IP address ultimately, so I can do the last one. So let's copy half of it here, copy the other half with the port as well, because if you're going to use port 6666, you may as well make it part of the answer. So 43.204.110.203.666. I know I said I wasn't going to give you the answer to begin with this. I've given you all of the answers, and we've now completed this. We even got some audio to celebrate. So yay, go me. Now this is a retired Sherlock. It's been solved many times. This does not make me special. This just shows that even after a lot of years doing forensics, there's still gotchas that you can get, and it's still worth doing these CTFs. So hats off to the guy who made this one. We'll leave a review in a minute. If you enjoyed this, please drop a like, subscribe, the usual YouTube stuff. That'd be much appreciated. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you're doing on your Hack the Box journey.